Hi, and welcome to this episode of the Mojo Moment, where we talk to people about where on their business journey they found their Mojo Moment. Today's guest is Laurel, Roach, the owner of TriFit Wellness. Laurel's had a great background. She's lived internationally. She's worked in the janitorial and maintenance field. She's been a model working for Ford, and now she is the owner of a fitness concept. So she really understands the importance of what it means to look good and feel good, both inside and out. Laurel, welcome to the Mojo Moment.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We're super happy to have you here today. Talk to us a little bit about TriFit Wellness. How did you start it? What was the idea behind the concept?
Sure. Well, TriFit Wellness actually was around much longer than before I bought it. So it was one of the very first boutique fitness studios back when there were only big box gym concepts. So the owners were a husband and wife team. They started this kind of boutique small group training experience and did very well on that for several years. Well, I found it when I was working in corporate America. I was a general manager for a commercial cleaning company, had built up my division, substantially. And, I was just completely overwhelmed and overstressed. And I thought at the time that it was the industry. It's really just the way that I'm wired. I will put 100% into everything that I do. So it just became too much selling during the day and then operations in the evenings. And it was just a lot. So my husband and I looked to buy a business. So I looked at a whole bunch of different things, and fitness was really the only thing that I really loved. That was always my passion. I was a model since the age of about 6, I believe, when my parents kind of got me into that. And it was very well intentioned. I had a wonderful childhood, but it's very hard to put a female in a very cutthroat, image driven atmosphere from a young age. So I developed, struggled with eating disorders for a lot of my youth, on and off. And more than that, I think just what was going on with me mentally, emotionally, I just didn't love myself. And I think that is a theme that I've seen carry through to so many of my clients. All of the people that I talk to, maybe they have things together on the outside, but they don't really love themselves. So they are acting out in various ways. So that could be through substance abuse issues, well, I just have to have my wine every night. And that's their coping mechanism for dealing with things. Or they're eating too much, or not eating the right things, or they're workaholics. There could be a lot of different ways that those things manifest itself. So I believe, health in a very holistic form is so much more than exercise. It's the mental, emotional, it's how we feed ourselves, it's how we're sleeping. It's that balance in all areas. So that's the approach that I've taken in my business, is looking at it from a very holistic nature in that way. So I've owned TriFit since January of 2017. And, it was a gym when I started it. And here we are today.
Yeah. And you're right. We all have our coping mechanisms. And for me, it's the way I deal with stress is I eat chocolate. But then I balance that by working out a ton, right? So I'm like, okay, if I work out a ton, I can eat that piece of chocolate. But we all have our mechanisms for how we deal with things, and particularly today with so much stress going on as a result of just kind of life in general. There's a lot going on. And so I think we're all trying to cope and deal with it in our own ways. Where along the way, as you became a business owner, got immersed into the world of fitness and kind of recognized the need to love yourself for both you and your clients, where along the way did you have your Mojo Moment? What was that?
Well, I feel like that's Mojo Moments on the way. But I would say the key Mojo moment for me was about 2 years into building the studio. I was so overstressed in my corporate career. I thought I just kind of wanted to have something hands off. And that lasted about a week. And, I really focused on growing the business, growing the studio, adding members. And there was just a period of time where I felt really unfulfilled with what we were doing. Like, we're helping change the lives of these select few people that are finding us on Google, coming into the studio, and they're receiving the benefit of our services. But there's this whole other market of individuals who don't feel comfortable coming into a gym. I've had it described to me as the fitness wasteland, coming in and like, well, I have no idea what to do. Everybody's looking at me. There's these sweaty big men over here. It's totally overwhelming. So I'm just going to go over here on the elliptical because that's all I know what to do. And so I felt like there's an opportunity to bring health and fitness to the other 80%, like 80% of people that aren't consistently going to a gym or doing anything, in terms of like their training and nutrition. So that was my moment of I can make an impact on such a bigger scale by working with companies and helping their employees. So.
That's awesome. We have just a couple minutes left. Maybe you could share a tip with us about how to sort of manage through, or what the coping mechanism might be today, knowing the stress that we're all dealing with as a result of COVID and just everything socially that's going on. Particular tip that you use to de-stress, or a particular thing in the gym that you like to do when you're working out to kind of take your mind off that?
Well, I am kind of a progress obsessed person. So I do a lot of things, but I would say probably the number one tip that I would recommend is, we can't change what we're not aware of. So a lot of us don't want to look at those things about ourselves that aren't going well. We just kind of, oh, I'm fine. And we try not to think about it. I am very keenly aware of the areas that I need work. So I track it every day, the things that I want to work on and improve. And so my tip to people would be to start small. Look at those areas that you want to improve and look at the smallest thing that you can do to make a difference. So if you want to start meditating, you don't start meditating 5 days a week, 2 times a day. You start with maybe 1 minute in the morning of deep breathing. So starting small, and that's what I would recommend.
That's great advice. And I am one of those people that wants to start like flat out, right? If I decide I'm going to do sit-ups, I'm going to try and do 1,000 sit-ups.
The
Not
research
practical.
just states that the vast majority of people can't stick with that.
Yeah,
So.
it's not realistic, right? Start with 10 and see if you can build up from there. So what I'd love is, can you share with us where, if somebody wants to connect with you and find out more information about TriFit and what you offer, particularly from a corporate wellness perspective, where do they connect with you?
Sure. So LinkedIn would be a great place. Just mentioned that, you saw this interview on the Mojo Moment, so I know, and be happy to connect with you there. Our website, trifitwellness.com. You can always just submit a form, and I love meeting business owners and, like-minded entrepreneurs. So love to connect with you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time to join the Mojo Moment today. We appreciate it. Stay fit, stay healthy, stay well, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks.
Thanks.